They say money changes everything, but does it reveal truth or hide it? In the fast-paced cities and quiet villages of Africa, love is tested by more than just words. It is tested by struggle, by silence, and sometimes by secrets. This is the story of a man who had everything, yet lived as if he had nothing just to find something more precious than gold. True love, in a world where luxury cars glide past dusty streets, where billionaires dine in glass towers while mechanics sweat. Under the sun, a hidden truth quietly unfolds. One man, tired of fake affection and polished smiles, decides to trade his wealth for a wrench. He walks away from his high-rise and into the grease-stained garage of a roadside mechanic shop. But fate is never simple. He meets a girl. Not a model, not a socialite. Just a girl with bright eyes, bare feet, and a heart full of dreams. She doesn't chase money. She carries water on her head and pride in her walk. She is everything the world ignores, but everything he's been searching for. Yet both are hiding truths. And when love blooms between disguises, the question remains, what will happen when masks fall? This tale isn't just about riches or rags. It's about who we are when no one's watching and what love looks like when it has no price tag. Now, let me take you deep into this modern African folktale, the story of the billionaire who pretended to be a poor mechanic, all for love. The sun beat down on the buzzing city of Jambula, where towering buildings pierced the sky and traffic roared like a river of restless beasts. Somewhere high above the chaos, on the 35th floor of a glass skyscraper, Zuberi sat in silence. He had just turned 30, handsome and calm, dressed in a tailored navy blue suit worth more than most people's annual salary. His office overlooked the entire city. Everything he saw belonged to him or one day would. Oil fields, properties, car dealerships, logistics companies. His late father had left him a vast empire, and Zuberi had grown it even further. He had everything except someone who loved him without knowing what he owned. His phone buzzed. Again, another message from another woman whose smile glowed brighter in photos than in real life. He didn't even open it. He stood up, walked over to the wide window, and stared at the streets below. Among the honking cars and impatient pedestrians, he saw someone pulling a broken cart. Struggling to move through the crowd, they reminded him of his childhood. Before the suits, before the money. He took a deep breath and turned to his assistant. A short man named Bako, who had been with his family for over 20 years. "I want to disappear for a while," Zuberi said. Bako raised an eyebrow. "Sir?" "Not forever. Just long enough to remember what it means to be real." The assistant adjusted his glasses. "You mean, like a vacation?" "No," Zuberi replied. "I mean, I want to live like them, like the people who don't have chauffeurs or cards or bodyguards. I want to see who I am without all this." Bako didn't argue. He'd known Zuberi long enough to understand when. His mind was made. 2 days later, Zuberi walked away from his tower and stepped into another world. He rented a small workshop on the edge of a quiet town named Kibogo. It's a kind of place where goats cross the road freely and dust clung to everything. He bought old clothes, torn boots, a fake identity, and a name: Zach. The people of Kibogo didn't ask many questions. They only knew a new mechanic had arrived, one who looked too clean, too smooth. But he worked hard. He listened more than he spoke. He fixed tires, changed oil, scrubbed engines, and ate lunch under a mango tree. One afternoon, as he wiped grease from his hands, he saw her. She was walking along the roadside with a basket balanced perfectly on her head. She wore a faded green dress, her feet covered in dust. But she walked with pride, not shame. Her eyes didn't wander. Her lips didn't pout. She was focused, graceful, and real. A wooden wheel fell off her cart, and fruits spilled onto the ground. Zach jogged over. "Let me help," he said. She looked up, wary. "I didn't ask for help. I know, but the wheel, I can fix it." She knelt to pick up her fruit. Zach bent beside her. Their hands touched for a second. Silence. Then she stood, brushed off her dress, and nodded. "Thank you. I suppose. You're welcome," Zach said, and that was the first time he saw Amina. He didn't know then that this girl so quiet, so proud would turn his whole world upside down. The next morning, Zach was already at the workshop before the sun had fully risen. He had grown used to the smell of burnt oil, the sound of metal clanking, and the endless parade of dusty cars needing miracles. His soft billionaire hands were now rough with calluses, and his once pristine fingernails were stained black. And he liked it. But his mind wasn't on cars. It was on her. Amina. He didn't know why she lingered in his thoughts. Maybe it was her confidence, the way she didn't try to impress anyone. Maybe it was her sharp tone that hid something softer. Maybe it was just the way she walked, like she didn't owe the world an apology. Around mid-morning, she appeared again, this time pushing her repaired cart down the same road. She didn't look at him. She kept her eyes forward. Zach stood from under the car he was fixing and wiped his hands on his trousers. "Amina." He called. She stopped, turned, raised an eyebrow. "You remember my name?" she said. Zach shrugged. "I remember people who don't smile at me." A smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. "Maybe that's because you're always covered in oil." He chuckled. Guilty. She walked closer, but not too close. He pointed at the cart. "How's the wheel?" "Still turning." "I tightened it again, just in case." "You didn't ask." "I didn't think you'd want me to." A moment passed. She tilted her head slightly. "You're not from around here, are you?" Zach paused. "Why do you say that? You don't talk like us. You don't move like us. And your hands, they have grease now, but the way you hold tools, it's not natural." Zach smiled nervously. "Maybe I'm just learning." She studied him. Maybe. And then she was gone, her cart rolling over the rocks as she walked away. That night, Zach sat under the stars outside his tiny room behind the garage. He thought about her again. He wondered if she thought about him. Over the next few days, they saw each other often. Amina would pass by at sunrise. Sometimes stop for water. Sometimes bring him leftover stew in a plastic container. She never stayed long. She never asked questions. But she always looked him in the eye, which most people didn't. One evening, while she was walking home from the market, Zach offered to walk with her. She hesitated, but agreed. They talked. She told him about her mother, who was sick and bedbound. About her younger brother, who had dropped out of school because they couldn't afford the fees. About her dream to open a small grocery shop of her own, so she wouldn't have to push carts and chase markets. Every day, Zach listened, and something in his heart shifted. He wasn't just pretending to be Zach anymore. He had become him, the man who understood struggle, who respected women like Amina, who felt small in a big world, but not lost. The next day, he secretly paid off her brother's school fees. He did it through a local teacher so she wouldn't know it came from him. A week later, he helped a pregnant customer fix her leaking fuel tank for free. Word began to spread that the new mechanic, Zach, was not only skilled, but kind. But good things don't go unnoticed for long. Back in the city, one of Zuberi's business rivals had started sniffing around. Rumors had reached him something about the heir to the Madaki oil empire living in a dusty village, wearing boots and patching tires. He sent someone to investigate at the same time. Amina's Antan older woman, known for meddling in everything, began asking questions too, one afternoon. While Amina and Zach shared roasted corn under the mango tree, she asked something unexpected. "Who are you really?" Zach's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" You're not like the others. You're too quiet to be a city boy, but too clean to be a village man." He swallowed. "I'm someone trying to find peace," he said softly. She looked at him. "Is that your real name?" "It's what people call me." She didn't press further. She only nodded. But something in her eyes had changed. That night, Zach couldn't sleep. He knew his lie, however innocent it started, was slowly catching up to him. The longer he waited, the harder it would be to tell her the truth. He didn't know that. Amina was already piecing it together. She had seen him one day, talking to a man in a suit by a shiny black SUV parked near the edge of town. She had seen the way the man stood straight like a bodyguard, the way he bowed slightly when speaking to him. She had seen Zach look over his shoulder before accepting a small, knit envelope. It didn't make sense until it did, and that's when she began to pull away. Fewer smiles, shorter conversations, no more leftover stew, Zach noticed, and it broke him inside. The city was everything Amina had imagined on, nothing like what she expected. It was cold, tall, and alive in a way that left her breathless. The streets were packed with people, cars honking in rhythm, and neon signs flashing everywhere. It was a world so far removed from Kibogo, yet somehow, it was where Zach's truth had led her. As she stepped out of the bus and onto the polished pavement, Amina felt out of place. The buildings loomed over her like giants, casting long shadows. Across the crowded sidewalks, her simple dress, her worn sandals, nothing about her fit in here. She felt as though the city was waiting for her to disappear among the masses. She pulled out the piece of paper Zach had given her. It had an address written in elegant handwriting. The directions were simple, just a name and the number of a building, Zuberi's office. She asked a passerby for directions, and within minutes, she found herself standing before a glass tower that reached high into the sky. The building was sleek, modern, and imposing. It felt like a world away from the dusty streets of Kibogo. The receptionist greeted her with a polite smile. "How may I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Zuberi Madaki," Amina said, her voice small but steady. The receptionist's eyes flickered for a second. There was recognition, but she quickly masked it with a professional smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Amina replied, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. "But I need to speak with him." The receptionist hesitated, but then typed something into her computer. She looked at Amina again, this time with a bit more warmth. "Please, have a seat. I'll inform him you're here." Amina sat down, her heart pounding in her chest. The minutes felt like hours, and each tick of the clock seemed to echo through the silent lobby. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the receptionist stood. "Mr. Madaki will see you now." Amina followed her into an elevator that whisked them up to the top floors. The elevator ride felt surreal, like she was floating between two worlds, the simple life of Kibogo and the whirlwind of the city. When the doors opened, she was led into a sleek, modern office with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. Zuberi sat behind a large mahogany desk, a phone in his hand. He looked exactly as she remembered him, but somehow different, more polished, more formal, yet still the same man who had helped her without asking for anything in return. He looked up as she entered, his face betraying no emotion. "Amina," he said softly. Setting the phone down, she stood still in the doorway, unsure of what to say. The silence between them felt heavy. "You came," he said, his voice almost a whisper. "I had to," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind inside her. Zuberi stood up from behind his desk and walked around to face her. He was taller now, his presence commanding. But it was the look in his eyes, the vulnerability, that caught her off guard. "I didn't know how to tell you," he said. "I wanted you to love me as Zach, not as Zuberi. I didn't want you to be overwhelmed by who I am." She met his. Gaze her heart torn between the man she had known and the one standing before her now. "I don't know who to trust anymore," she said, her voice cracking. "You lied to me, Zuberi. You pretended to be someone else. And she stopped herself, shaking her head. "I don't know if I can believe anything you say now." Zuberi stepped closer, his eyes full of regret. "I didn't want to deceive you. I wanted to know if you would love me for me, not my money, not my title. I didn't want to be just another rich man trying to win your affection. I wanted something real." Amina took a deep breath, the emotions swirling inside her. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to forgive him for the lies, for the pain he had caused. But the wound was still fresh. "Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning?" she asked softly. "I was afraid," Zuberi admitted. "Afraid that you would see the wealth and not see me. Afraid that you would think I was just like the others." Amina paused, her heart torn. "Then show me who you are," she said, her voice steady. He smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I will," he said. "But you have to decide if you can see me for who I am. All of me." Amina looked out the window, her thoughts racing. She had been hurt, but there was something about him that felt different. The man who had hidden behind a mask of grease and dirt had shown her kindness, had helped her when no one else would. But was that enough? Turning back to him, she made her decision. "I came here because I need to know if the man I met in Kibogo is still in there. The one who helped me. The one who cared." Zuberi's eyes softened. "He's still here, Amina, and he's willing to show you." The tension between them melted away, replaced by a quiet understanding. She took a deep breath. "I'm not sure I can forgive everything right away," she said, "but maybe we can start over. Maybe we can build something from where we left off." Zuberi stepped forward, his eyes filled with hope. "I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." And just like that, the world they had once lost came back into focus. The journey they had started in the small village of Kibogo was far from over, and maybe, just maybe, love could still bloom, even in the face of all their secrets. Weeks passed. Zuberi didn't rush her. He didn't pressure her. He simply showed up, consistently, humbly, sincerely. Each day he invited Amina into his world, but gently, one step at a time. He took her to the quieter places in the city where children played freely, where laughter echoed through narrow alleys, where life still felt real. He showed her the parts of himself she hadn't seen in Kiboga, the side that carried the weight of his father's legacy, the side that lay awake at night, questioning if wealth had robbed him of meaning. Amina, too, began to open up again. Slowly, carefully, she visited his office, met his staff, and even dined in his penthouse, but she never let the luxury blind her. She asked tough questions. She kept her values close, and Zuberi respected that. In fact, he loved her more for it. One evening, under the fading glow of a rooftop sunset, Zuberi walked beside Amina, their hands almost touching, but not quite. The sky was painted orange and purple, and the city below seemed quieter than usual. "I never asked," Amina said, looking out over the skyline. "What happened to the garage?" "I kept it," Zuberi replied. "I hired a real mechanic to run it. Pays him well. We even fixed the roof." She smiled. "You didn't forget." "Some things," he said, turning toward her, "are worth holding on to." There was a long pause. Then he took a small box from his pocket. Not gold, just simple and black. He opened it. Inside was a silver ring crafted to resemble a tiny wrench curled into a perfect circle. At the center was a single blue stone, shaped like a drop of oil. Amina blinked. "Is this a joke?" she asked, half laughing. Zuberi knelt slowly. "It's a promise," he said, "that I'll never forget where we came from. That I'll always work to fix what's broken. And that I'll love you not with diamonds, but with devotion. Her smile faded into something deeper, something tender. And as he asked the question with no grand crowd, no flashing cameras, just the wind and the sky watching, Amina whispered the answer he had prayed for. Yes. Their wedding was not what society expected. It wasn't hosted in a palace or televised for the world to see. It was held beneath the mango tree in Kibogo. The entire village attended, children in fresh school uniforms, elders in their finest wrappers. And even the goat that once tried to eat Amina's basket made a special appearance. Zuberi wore a simple white kaftan. Amina wore a dress made by her late mother's own hands. There was no diamond tiara, no glass runway, but there was joy, laughter, dancing, food, drums that echoed into the night, and love genuine. Humble, tested love that lit up every heart in the village. Later that night, as they sat beside the fire watching the stars blink above the trees, Amina rested her head on Zuberi's shoulder. "You still have grease under your nails," she teased. "I know," he said. "I think it's permanent now," she giggled. He looked at her, eyes glowing with quiet gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, "for seeing me, the real me." She turned to face him. "And thank you," she replied, "for not hiding forever." They sat there in silence, no words needed. The city was far away. The empire, the business, the wealth, they could wait. Right now, it was just them. A boy who pretended to be poor, and a girl who chose love over everything else. Asterisk, 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 and so. From the dust of a roadside workshop to the heights of city towers. A story was written not in gold or fame, but in the quiet power of truth and love. Zuberi, the billionaire who could afford the world, chose instead to search for something no money could buy, a heart that saw him, not his fortune. And Amina, the village girl with courage in her spirit and dignity in her silence, taught us all that. True love isn't impressed by what you wear, but how you care. They were strangers from different worlds, but destiny sees through disguise. This story is not just about love. It's about humility, about identity, about risking everything to find something real in a world full of pretending. And maybe, just maybe, it's about reminding us all that the truest riches are not in what you own, but in who stands beside you when you have nothing. So the next time someone offers you their heart, look deeper. Past the clothes, past the car, past the story they tell the world. Because beneath every quiet mechanic might beat the heart of a king. Thank you for watching this unforgettable tale. If this story touched you, inspired you, or reminded you of something real, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more African folktales that speak to the soul. Until the next story, stay true, stay humble, and remember, love, when it is real, will always find its way.